Bill, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, Dana?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being on with me this afternoon. So what was this sort of like? This is Rahm Emanuel's arrival in Chicago, and he was just meeting with voters and talking to members of the press. It wasn't some kind of formal press conference?
No, it was actually, we were out at the Columbus Day Parade, which is right down the street from my house, by the way. So it was right outside on a sidewalk that I am very familiar with. And, I thought that was as good of an opportunity to do an interview for my show, the Kelly Truth Squad on WIND. And obviously there were a couple of, I guess what you would call Obama media or maybe Rahm Emanuel's Chicago media people there who really thought that, they think that they control the message. That's their job, and they don't want anybody asking any questions. They don't want anybody to change the narrative. They've set the narrative, and they don't want anybody to change the narrative.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, the fact that Jay Levine turned and yelled at you. Did he say anything did he apologize? Has he apologized at any point?
No, this is, it's really funny that you would say that, because to even think for a second that it would ever cross, Jay Levine's mind or, someone like Rahm Emanuel's mind to apologize or to even, second guess themselves that perhaps they acted inappropriately, professionally, it really shows that, we're on a very different wavelength from them, Dana.
Yes, absolutely. And you weren't behaving or in a rude manner. You weren't shoving anyone. You were simply asking non-softball-like questions, and you were very polite about it. I'm not quite sure what these guys took offense, but what I found fascinating, Bill Kelly, is that we've often remarked, so we've said it so often, that it feels as though so many people involved in mainstream corporate media work overtime to provide defense for this administration and protect this administration. But what we saw on your video are these guys literally acting like palace guards and defending Rahm Emanuel from any tough questioning. Did it feel that way to you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And like you said, it wasn't just them trying to, keep the narrative and prevent me from asking my question, but they were physically trying to block me out from being able to even, stand next to Rahm Emanuel. They were literally acting like bodyguards or bouncers or thugs or however whatever I don't want to say anything disparaging against bodyguards. They were acting like gangbangers is what they were acting like.
Yeah, just the way that they tried to shove you out, and I thought it was really snotty too, how they were implying that because you weren't with a network news outlet, and that you weren't one of them, that for whatever reason you don't count, that they're going to be the ones to shape the narrative to give to the people. They don't want anyone else getting in there and getting a hold of a crumb of truth and trying to give that out to the public. What is Jay Levine like in Chicago?
Well, that's just it, is that they don't want anyone else to ask any questions. And because of that, we've had a situation where we've had one-party rule, not just in politics in the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois, but in the media as well. The Chicago media is essentially just the mouthpiece for the Chicago Democrat Party,
right?
And that's why I think it's really important for us to be able to have our own radio show or our own blog or our own opportunities to ask these questions that would otherwise never be asked.
Right.
Okay. It's not even a question of whether or not we're network or they're or not. The truth of the matter is that if we don't ask these questions will never be asked.
Yeah.
And good people, who then they'll be deprived of actual, information that they need in order to make informed decisions on who to vote for.
Yeah, absolutely. Did this also perhaps feel like a turf war to you? Do you think that Jay Levine? Do you think that he was mad because you were getting on his turf? He was mad because you were asking hard questions, or he was mad because you were asking hard questions and getting on his turf?
You know what? It really, it's pure ideology. He sees me as somebody who doesn't share his ideology, which is pro-Obama, pro-Rahm Emanuel, pro-stimulus, big government, and he's there to defend an ideology, which, I've done a couple of different shows in my life, entertainment shows. I never tried to use my platform, as a TV, host in Chicago, or to try to promote an ideology or to promote one, company over another, or one, cause over another. We went out very, fairly and promoted every great, Chicago person, place, or thing, or charity. But unfortunately, here you've got, Jay Levine and other, people like him in Chicago with these major networks who view their job as a journalist solely as a way of promoting their friends and their allies.
That's sad. And this is one of the things that I went over in this article for Big Journalism, and I know that you're going to have an account that's going to be published tomorrow as well,
Yes.
is the way that the American people have completely lost faith in media. The media used to be the watchdog for the people. They became the lapdog of the government. And there was a Rasmussen poll, or a Gallup poll rather, that showed that Americans no longer have confidence in the media. And we had numerous studies. We had a poll from Rasmussen that showed that Americans thought that media coverage of the presidential elections was completely skewed towards the left. We had a study from the Center for Media and Public Affairs, one from the Harvard Media Center, which found that media coverage of people of Barack Obama and John McCain and of right and left, it skews left. And so we see this completely embodied in the video that you got in Chicago. And it's no wonder that these guys are they're so hostile and they're so aggressive, because I'm not sure how you feel about it, Bill, but it seems as though they have everything invested into the success of this administration. And they realize that if this administration fails, then they fail as well.
Well, that's for sure, and that's why it's really worrisome. If the American people can't trust the media and trust, what the media is telling them, then you're going to see, I think more people becoming disillusioned. That's why, I'm very thankful for, obviously, what you do, with your show, and with the Tea Party, for example. Giving ordinary, regular Americans that, just simply love their country and love freedom of voice an opportunity to somehow go somewhere to an empty park on a weekend or something and at least get to express their views. Because if we, I know that, people like Jay Levine say, that the Tea Party is dangerous, or that, somehow regular Americans are dangerous. But I personally think it's dangerous for regular Americans not to get a chance to express their views, have their voices heard, have their values reflected in the media. That's where, we could potentially see, something that would be, more dangerous.
Right.
So, the more regular people get to have their voices heard, the more that there is a genuine, diversity of opinion in the media. And I've lived in Chicago my whole life. I love Chicago. But Chicago has been on lockdown. In fact, there was
I can imagine. Yeah,
it's absolute lockdown, and there was even a speech where Barack Obama was speaking to a Democrat group, where he actually said, "Don't worry about this election. We've got Illinois on lockdown."
There you go.